Hey everyone, this is Daniel from Nothing Notable, checking in with you here at the end of 2020. And listen, 2020 sucked. It was a bad year. But we don't want to focus on all of the bad things that happened. We want to focus on the good things. So in an attempt to highlight our favorite things from 2020, we've put together this series of short podcasts called The Best of 2020. We talk about our favorite television from 2020, our favorite movies, our favorite albums, some of our favorite comedy, some of our favorite YouTube channels and podcasts, and all of the stuff that helped us get through what was a terrible year. In this, our final episode of The Best of 2020, we're talking about our favorite alternative media. So that means YouTube and podcasts and other social media platforms. So sit back and enjoy what we thought was the best of 2020.
I'll start with someone I found this year, and he makes some YouTube videos. He's also a writer. He was a writer on the Seth Meyers show for a long time. But Conor O'Malley, his YouTube channel is very strange, very weird. But he has a lot of like odd, like political, like type of like existential, absurdist comedy videos. Like he'll be like this guy in like the Midwest being like, there's an Antifa van outside of my house and it's been out here for like 2 months, and then like they'll kidnap him and then like brainwash him. It's just interesting stuff like that. And he's married to Adie Bryant from SNL, and he is super weird, super funny. But yeah, he has a lot of videos out in an empty New York too. Like he and his roommate, I imagine, or his buddy, went out during like March and April in New York and filmed some stuff, and there's just no one in Times Square and stuff, and it's pretty insane. But I definitely recommend checking out Conor O'Malley. He has a lot of good bits out there.
There is someone who I watched a lot of this year who I think is really funny in just a ridiculous way, and that's Tim Dillon, who's a comedian who he has a podcast, but he also has he does a lot of like little sketches and stuff that he just throws up on his YouTube, and they're like very low budget, but he's just kind of like ridiculous and out there and very fun, and I would recommend him.
Well, I have, as with all the other categories, I have 1,000. I'll start off with something a little bit out there, a little bit different from what you guys were mentioning. I want to shout out someone who I've been listening to and watching videos of for, might be 10 years now. It's a Madden gamer named Mr. Hurricane. What Mr. Hurricane does is he'll do like franchise rebuilds, and he'll go in and pick a franchise for each different iteration of Madden, and he'll rebuild the franchise. He'll pick a really bad team, and then he'll build them up to a dynasty. And it's always really well produced and really fun, and it's very engaging. This year particularly though, because his Denver Broncos, and I'm totally losing so many people, but His Denver Broncos Madden franchise is one of the best that he's ever done. It's really, really fun. Partly because he got together with this guy named Blackjack, who created custom draft classes for him. And so all of the players that are getting drafted have very unique skill sets. The storyline of this franchise was just so engaging and so fun, and I was always tuning in week by week to watch, Boogie Turner get the sack record, or to see if Jamari Akinjide was going to be able to play better at linebacker than he did at strong safety. It's really fun and it's really engaging, and he does a really good job of putting together this franchise. And it's very silly to watch another person play a sports video game, but the way that he produces it is more or less like watching like a TV show, and it's really fun. I'd highly recommend checking him out.
Yeah, I know who that is, who you're talking about. I used to watch his stuff too. I have not in recent years, just because I don't watch as much like gaming videos as I used to. But he always has been like very creative in the work that he does, and very like puts a lot of time and effort into his series. Yeah.
Kind of jumping off that, I think just like another YouTuber that's into sports and stuff. I think John Boy, he's probably the biggest baseball YouTuber out right now. He does breakdowns of just like really funny baseball plays that, like, even if you don't like baseball at all, you'll be like, wait, this is like really funny, because it's like weird that this stuff happens like every day in baseball. And they're really like building this year, and last year was like their biggest year, but particularly this year, they broke like the Astros scandal that has just like tarnished the 2017 Astros like World Championship. But yeah, he's a lot of fun. If you guys haven't checked him out, like I would highly recommend it. And he's just like good old fun YouTube guy.
Yeah, and I think baseball needs more people like that.
Totally.
Like him and like Trevor Bauer, for example, the pitcher for an unnamed team right now, as he is currently a free agent at the moment of recording this. But just people who like try to make the game of baseball engaging.
Yeah.
Because baseball has really lagged behind on that front for the last 20 years or so.
Yeah, there's not as many new eyeballs on baseball.
A Twitter account that I've really enjoyed this year, speaking of baseball, is is Aubrey
Oh my god.
Is Aubrey Huff's Twitter account. Aubrey Huff is one of the dumbest people on earth and has absolutely sold out to the right, and he's a real piece of shit, and everyone should know him. I have not looked at his stuff in the last 3 months because it's gotten like too much and too sad and too desperate and too much of just being a soulless hack. But Aubrey Huff is a real dumb, racist, misogynist loser. But for a while there, when I first found out how active he was on Twitter, it was very interesting because I'm like, oh, this is Aubrey Huff, the first baseman of the beloved San Francisco Giants teams. And then it's like, damn, he's a really crappy person.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's really funny too, because in 2010, like, again, we're losing people by the minute now. But
I'll get him back when I talk about my weightlifting.
Exactly. But Aubrey Huff was such like an inspirational story for the 2010 Giants team. Like he was like this misfit having a great season, and then like he had this weird rally thong thing that he wore, and you're like, oh, he's just like kind of a weird guy and like perfect for San Francisco. And like I'm sure 2010 it's hush hush, but like I'm sure he goes out to the clubs and like, you know, like who knows what he does, and who knows what he did, and I won't say anything. But it's just really interesting to see how much, again, I think you said it right, like everything you said, like he is just like kind of a sad, like racist, misogynistic guy right now.
He is an absolute garbage person, and that is why he makes the worst of 2020 list.
Yeah, but for a while there it was somewhat entertaining, but again a weird figure in my life, I know, because I really loved him in the 2010 team, but it's sad to see where he's been now.
But speaking of racism, there is a comedian who I think did some very fun, interesting stuff this year on her Instagram Live, and that is a comedian by the name of Z-Way, who I think she's a writer for Jesus and Mero.
Oh, cool.
I actually met her like a year and a half ago because she came to like talk to one of our classes because she was friends with our professor. But she has like a fun, not fun really, but it's a very interesting social media show called Baited, where she has very uncomfortable conversations about race that with her guests. Like, for example, she asked Alyssa Milano, she's like, do you have any black friends? And name them. And it's just questions like that like totally put people on the spot. Like I remember her asking someone, I forget who it was, but it was some celebrity. She's like, name 5 black people. And then watching them like struggle to name 5 black people. It's very enlightening show, and it like puts the spotlight on racism and racial issues in our society in a way that I had never seen it before. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm definitely gonna.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. I'm gonna combine like 45 people into one category, and that's my filmmaking list. I watch a lot of filmmaking YouTube channels. They either do tutorials on filmmaking, or they do reviews, or they do, I don't know, just anything that's revolving around filmmaking. So I'll list them all off, and then I'll just talk about why I think they're all as like a group, what makes them special as like a group. Somebody that I found this year who sort of is newer to the YouTube scene, his name is Danny Gevertz. He's a DP out of Philadelphia, and his videos are really wholesome. They always end, he has a very soft way of speaking, and it's very well produced and well put together. It's a beautiful looking video every week, released every Monday, I think. And at the end of every video, he always says like, all right, thank you for watching, and I love you. And that's like a level of emotional, I don't know, that's just like a deep level of emotional intimacy that I'm not used to with YouTube videos. Like every time he says it, I go like, whoa, like, like it's kind of different. He's really great. I also love Corridor Crew. They don't really need my help shouting them out, but they do a lot of cool VFX breakdowns, and they're totally fun. I really like the community that they have going there. Another guy that I love out of LA, his name's Potato Jet. His real name's Gene. But he's like this super fun YouTuber that is a professional DP on like commercials and independent film. And he's always doing reviews of different products that are coming out and different trends in Hollywood. And they're really good. He also looks like the kid from Up, you know, the little Asian kid.
Russell, come on.
Yeah.
Come on now, guys.
Yeah, he looks like Russell. And if he ever hears this, he'll be so happy that I said that, because that's the number one comment on all of his videos. Patrick H Willems,
Yeah.
he does mostly reviews, but he this year started doing his reviews like in sort of a Red Letter Media series, which is my next person as well, Red Letter Media. Both of them do reviews, but they do them in really interesting ways, and they put together these long form stories, and there's these overarching developing plots and characters. Really cool stuff. So those are all my my filmmaking channels, and then I have a couple more channels and podcasts that I'll mention, but you guys can go.
Obviously, like Red Letter Media, I've been watching them since like middle school or elementary school or something. They're fantastic. They don't need my help shouting them out, and they frankly don't want it, because they don't care. They just want to talk about movies, and that's all they do. And they're just really great. I mean, Mike and Jay are fantastic, and then Rich Evans, of course. What a huge get for them. Rich Evans is very famous. Played Space Cop. He's been on the Ellen Show. Just really
Dick
good.
the Birthday Boy.
Dick the Birthday Boy. But they bring so much joy to my life, and not that they care. And a podcast I've gotten into this year, and is someone who I really looked up to when I was in elementary school, and
Kevin Spacey.
yeah. No, around like 2007, 2006, like I was really watching. This was actually my first sketch comedy show that I got into, and I don't really love it looking back on it, but I do love this person. It's the old show was Mad TV, and Bobby Lee has a podcast called Tiger Belly that he does with his wife / partner, and it's just really sweet. He talks all about like he's a stand-up in addition to sketch comedy, and he just talks very genuinely, and like we've been talking about with comedians and their podcasts, like Bobby Lee is so interesting, and like while I don't love his stand-up, I think it's like fine, but like his podcast is so cool, and it's so fun to hear stories about him traveling, because he's really been he's been everywhere in the United States, and he's like really, his career has like taken like really high highs and then really low lows, like, and it's just really cool to see him growing it. And like just to see like Jordan Peele like comes on the show, and like he's just won an Oscar, and he's like so okay with like going on Bobby Lee's show, because they like they say like they went through Nam together, which was like being on Mad TV. But yeah, just Tiger Belly is great. Great little.
I love
podcast.
Tiger Belly. I've been a big Tiger Belly guy for at least 3 years now, and yeah, everything about that show. It feels like, one, it's a culture that I'm unfamiliar with. Bobby is Korean, Kalila is Filipino, mm-hmm. Gilbert is also Filipino. It's a really fun show. He's so silly and so bombastic, and what I love about the chemistry between him and Kalila is that he goes so far out there, and then she pulls him back and puts him down, and then you could see in his eyes that he's just been defeated, and you can see him try to get out of it, and he is sort of like a little trash man, you know, and she is like this very intelligent person that's like fishing him out of the trash and then throwing him back in the trash. So it's just a really fun dynamic between the two of them, and it feels like a little family that I've been adopted by.
Yeah, and it's totally great when they have like comedians like Bill Burr and like Jamie Kennedy on, and they're talking, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, like why, like that's why she's here, because she's like so much smarter than all of us, and like Kalila's just great. It's a really fun show. I highly recommend it.
I have a couple more YouTube channels, and then I'll just since we're on podcasts, I'll just shout out every podcast on the Ringer podcast network.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
My favorites obviously are more skewed towards the film side of things, but I love the Mismatch, also the basketball show with Verno and KOC. I love the Rewatchables. They rewatch old movies and they talk about them in a really fun way with Bill Simmons and Sean Fennessy and Chris Ryan. Chris Ryan also is one of the podcast gods, and I so often try to emulate him, but can't because he's such a specific type of person. He also has another show on there called The Watch with Andy Greenwald, and I love that. I love The Big Picture with Sean Fennessy and Amanda Dobbins. I love the Bill Simmons pod. I mean, Higher Learning with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay. All of the podcasts that they do are really special. I mentioned earlier that maybe I'm monoculturing myself by sticking to like the LA comedy scene. It really is just LA comedy scene and The Ringer. Those are my two podcast networks.
Owned by our dad, Bill Simmons.
Our biological father and future co-worker.
Yeah, our future boss. I really enjoyed the Redraftables series that they did on The Ringer this year, going through all the NBA drafts since like 90, I want to say it was 96 or something. Mm-hmm. But that was really fun. They have former Steelers linebacker Ryan Shazier on one of their NFL podcasts. He's great. I really like Kevin Clark, who's also on one of their NFL pods. Yeah, they got a lot of good stuff over there. They do not need our assistance whatsoever. But here we are.
Yeah. And speaking of a podcast that doesn't need our help, the Team Deakins podcast is really, if you're into filmmaking, it's a valuable resource. It's Roger Deakins and his wife, James Deakins. They talk about movies, and they talk about the movies that they've been in, and they have guests on, and Roger Deakins is the greatest cinematographer who ever lived, and the fact that he has a podcast where he can talk about the projects that he's put together is just it's like I found the great Library of Alexandria, and like there it is. It's just there for me, and I'm the only one that knows about it because it doesn't seem like it's a huge podcast, but such a good podcast, totally worth listening to if you're into filmmaking.
This is also super random. You just reminded me of it. This is so stupid, but because I was like thinking like, oh, David Lynch should have a podcast, but he kind of does. He has a daily weather report every single day, and it's just David Lynch being like, hello, it is December 27th, 2020. It is the morning, and today I'm thinking about, and then he just says something he's thinking about, and that's it. It's only like a minute long. Strange form of media, but check it out on YouTube. Again, not that he needs our help, but it's just really David Lynch and funny. And very low-key, honestly. Not a lot of people know about it.
Last few YouTube channels I want to talk about. One is comedy, and then, well, two of them are comedy, and then one of them is exercise-based. This is like so uncomfortable for me to say, but like I started working out this year. And so
wait, for the first time ever?
Well, I mean, like I played sports in high school, so I like worked out then. But like I never lifted weights really. I never went for runs for fun because we would run during practice. Right. And so like this was the first time that I actually started like lifting weights and then going on weekly runs. So I made a schedule. I lift weights Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I start running Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And I go up in the hills behind my house. And so that was only possible because of all the wealth of information that was available on YouTube. There's so many great fitness channels on YouTube that'll help you get pretty immediate results. And one of them that does not need my help, but I think is just the best on YouTube is Athlean Axe. It's very simple to follow along with. It's very simple to, if you want to lose weight, you can lose weight very simply. He has a lot of stuff on diet, a lot of stuff on losing weight. He also does a lot of stuff on lifting and bulking and gaining weight. So depending on like what you need out of your exercise, it's the best channel on YouTube for doing that. So I just wanted to shout that out because if anyone else was getting the quarantine 15, at any point during the year, it's worth watching some of these videos and giving that a try.
Oh yeah, I stopped working out in 2020, so I'll watch those so I can work out in 2021 and lose the good quarantine 50 or so. Look, I'm trying to hang out with Dua Lipa, so I gotta look my best.
Yo, we all gotta
she's
look
in
our
incredible
best.
shape.
You know, we all gotta look our best for Dua Lipa.
Exactly.
Real quick, I'll just do a couple more, and then we could go on to the next one. Two sort of comedy-based channels, Pretty Much It and Gus Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler, you and I have been watching Pretty Much It for so long, and they continue to reinvent themselves. And this year, they pretty much just stayed with commentary tracks, and they put out 15-minute videos splicing together the best moments of their commentary tracks with clips from the show or the movie that they're watching. And I would love for people to go watch them, because most of my comedy is inspired by Eric Striffler of Pretty Much It. And then
Totally.
And then I also just want to shout out Gus Johnson, who I think makes some of the best content on YouTube. He does like 2-minute or less videos. What really made me fall in love with him, this isn't from this year, it's from years ago, but he has a video called Salt, or I think it's called Salt, and it's just a 30-second song about salt, like how everyone always has salt just available in their house. Like you never run out of it. It's just always there somehow. And he turns that idea into this really sad but sweet song about how all of his friends have left him and he has nothing left, but no matter what, he'll always have salt. It'll always be there. Really sweet, really touching stuff. There's always a real heart at the core of his comedy. So those are my YouTube channels.
Cool.
That I wanted to shout out.
Great. I have one more podcast I want to shout out. It's from a friend of mine, Case Lowe. He has a podcast called the Art School Albums Podcast, which basically he and his guest each week go through a different album and try to create the perfect art school playlist. And he's very knowledgeable. He speaks so well. He's a good guy, and I would recommend that. I've listened to several episodes, and it's quite good.
Awesome. Yeah, just a couple more. Jim, I think his name is, I'm not
Gaffigan?
sure. No. Jim Meskimen. He's like a really good impressionist. And he's worked with like a lot of people over the years, and he's in a lot of stuff, but he has like a fun YouTube channel that he just like runs with him and his like family, and he has like weekly shows and stuff. And again, he's like probably like a C-list actor just in general, but like he's in a lot of stuff, and he does impressions and he's really good at them. And yeah, he has a fun little YouTube channel that I'd like to shout out. I watch occasionally. And he also like responds, so like just if you have any questions for him, like that's pretty cool too. And the last one, I realized this was one of my favorite things of this year, but I forgot about it because I didn't realize it came out this year. But Secret Base / SB Nation, they rebranded this year, but they're a great sports channel. Really, I watch all of their sports videos, and I only really like baseball. But they had a 4-hour documentary about the Mariners this year. And it is one of the most interesting documentaries I've ever seen on YouTube. And I think it goes above YouTube, but it is really fun. And when they announce like who's going to be on the next episode, it's like, and then like they like drafted like, or like they signed like Ichiro, and then like they show Ichiro, and you're like, oh my God, this is so fucking sick. It makes them Seattle Mariners, which is one of the saddest baseball franchises ever. They've never made it to the World Series. It makes it super interesting, and also like they do write like a good ending to the Seattle Mariners, which they haven't actually won anything yet, but it's a really great documentary.
Yeah, they've got a lot of good stuff over there. I enjoy their beef history series. Personally, that's a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah,
all of their stuff is so good. Highly recommend. My last couple of podcasts that I just want to shout out. Obviously, like everyone else, I listen to Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. Like they don't need my help, but that's been a really good podcast. Dax was really open about relapsing this year, and so I just want to shout that specifically out because that's pretty brave to have a huge platform and to talk about that really openly on the podcast. And then Your Mom's House with Tom Segura and Christina P. All of the comedy people that are in LA. Good For You with Whitney Cummings. Like literally everyone that's down in LA, I like almost all of their podcasts. So I wanted to shout them out as well. And then my last recommendation is one that's kind of when we started doing the podcast way back in the day when we were doing video podcasts, it wasn't audio centric. It was more video centric. There was a lot of goofs and bits with the video, with the editing of the video, and then also with like putting things on top of the video.
Yeah.
And we never quite hit the nail on the head, but this next podcaster, I think, really got to what I wanted to get to. It's an LA comedian named Rick Glassman. He is interesting for a number of reasons. One, he's been also very open about having a late diagnosis of autism. He is highly functioning, but he's on the spectrum. And so he doesn't quite connect with people in the same way that everyone else does. And he's very open and very communicative about that. And so it makes for a really interesting podcast when he says something that doesn't connect with someone else, and then he stops and says, wait, I don't understand why that's not connecting with you. Did you not realize that that was a joke? And then they'll talk about that. So that's making it really interesting. But on top of that, he's also just a really funny comedian, an actor, and the stuff that he does with the video and the bits that he does in video format as opposed to focusing on the audio is really clever. He has this reoccurring bit where his father owns a rug store in real life. So he'll say that this podcast is sponsored by his father's rug store, which is Marshall Rug Gallery, Carpet One in Cleveland. And so he'll cut to a commercial that he makes for the rug gallery. And he does this like 8 times an episode. And so he's done it at least like 300 times now. And every single time he cuts to it, it's funnier.
Wow.
So I loved his podcast, and I think it's really, it really stands out from a lot of the other podcasts that I listen to for the reasons I just mentioned. Definitely would recommend. It's called Take Your Shoes Off with Rick Glassman.
Cool. Wow, guys. Yeah, very good stuff all the way around. I'll definitely check out everything we've all mentioned. Hopefully. I mean, once this podcast comes out, I can listen to it. But to close out, if there's nothing else, I don't want to cut anyone off. I'm going to say biggest losers and winners without any explanation. And I'll just do it really fast, and then I'll just say something sweet at the end. Okay, so the biggest losers of 2020. Live performers, the American people. And then biggest winners of 2020. Zoom, writers, podcasters, people itching for like nostalgia just in general. There's been like I won't explain it, sorry.
I'm not going to explain these, but here I'm going to explain one of them.
The city of Los Angeles, I think in a lot of ways. Mookie Betts,
a winner.
Yeah, dude, they just like, I'm not going to explain it, okay? That's all I'm going to say.
You can't explain it.
You can't explain it. Mookie Betts, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are leaders and dictators, and introverts. But yeah, I think that's a little fun list that I wrote. Also, I guess Marvel's kind of a big loser. Anyways, I also just wanted to say a big winner. I think us. I think rebooting this podcast / this YouTube channel has been a lot of fun. I look forward to what the future holds for us. I think I want to say congratulations to you guys for graduating this year.
You as well, buddy.
Thank you. I know it's been a tough year, and I just want to say, like, I've really valued our friendship, especially going into the last 4 years post high school. I think it's been really awesome. I think I've talked to you guys the most out of anyone this year. Definitely in the back half. Definitely Daniel. We've talked for so long, but same with Jack too. And it's just nice. And I just want to thank you guys for this. And I'm looking forward to the future with y'all.
Yeah. 2020 was not a great year. I feel like I don't have any hot takes by saying that. For me personally, there were a lot of highs. There were a lot of lows in all aspects of life. But, you know, I think, and I was talking to someone about this like a month ago or so. I think that we're all heading for some good stuff in the next, year or so. I think everyone is kind of hopefully getting on the right path, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I think both of you guys, that was so sweet. I totally agree. I think our friendship is one of the highs of my year. This is by far the worst year of my life, personally, for a number of reasons. But always, having you guys has been terrific. And I think, going forward, I think there's going to be good stuff. I cannot wait to shove that vaccine needle into my arm.
I don't care if it gives me another nose. I will take it.
Yeah.
Yep.
If it makes me so ugly that Dua Lipa will never want to hang out with us,
Yeah.
that's fine.
If I can get two good months afterwards until I blow up because of the vaccine, like, I'm fine with that.
I would really like to go do stand-up comedy again. I miss that dearly, and my mental health is suffering because of it.
Same here, buddy. Same here. It's been. I mean, I don't even think I'm good at any comedy anymore, just because like improv. I'm like, how did I used to do that? Like, I don't think I could do that anymore.
I've been around kids for the last 9 months or so, and that's all improv.
Yeah, true. That's true. And I guess on that dark note, to a 2021 to remember.
And with those closing words, that wraps up our Best of 2020 series. We hope that some of you enjoyed it. At the very least, it was fun for us. We have a bunch of new podcasts coming out here in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that, and we'll see you then. Happy New Year's, everyone.